a friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie Yo 557. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters. Another Wednesday, another time to go back to this man right here. And y'all know who that man is. Mike from that chapter. That Chapter Wednesdays, y'all. Hope y'all doing excelente out there today. And I'm glad that you came on back to the channel once again to fuck with the bean. And the title of the video is Teen Vanishes Before Exposing Predator's Horrifying Secret. Darkest Disappearances 6. Now I'm just wondering what the hell is this Predator's horrifying secret. You know what I'm saying, man? I got a lot of bad images and things going through my head right now. But I don't know, but we're about to see. But before we see, my brothers and sisters, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need, please. We back to Mike from that chapter. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's go.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this solo video, I got for you a number, and that number is 5, of the darkest disappearances. This is another in that fan favorite series, and by fan favorite, I mean me. You know, I mean, there's far too many missing people cases that are just a horrifying or inexplicable. And usually the explicable part is pretty horrifying. I'm gonna go through this one iceberg style, with each disappearance being more disturbing than the last. So, hey, listen, let's give it one of them damn goos.
Let's give it a damn go. And get whatever you may need.
Our first story begins in Omaha, Nebraska. And I mean, you know, looking at it on the map, is there anything in Nebraska? It sort of just seems like a big void. And after listening to this story, you will want to avoid Omaha. See, late on the morning of June 13th, 2001, 19-year-old Jason Jalkowski, who was heading out the door that morning. His boss had just given him a, ring, asking if Jason would come into work a little bit earlier than usual. Jason was due to work at the restaurant at Fazoli's, where he was a waiter. You know, he was scheduled, his shift wasn't supposed to begin till that evening, but his boss was there, and like, it was approaching lunchtime, and it was already getting crazy in the place, so he was like, uh-oh. Called up Jason and a couple of other coworkers, hey, would you mind coming in a couple of hours early? And Jason, part-time college student, a few more dollars? Sure, why not? Well, that's what he initially said, and then he remembered, my car is actually banjaxed. See, there had been a horrendous hailstorm just a couple of days before, and his car was actually in the shop, so he had no way to get to work. His parents, who he lived with, they were both also in work at the time, so Jason is kind of humming and hawing over like a little bit, and then he calls one of his coworkers, hey, would you mind, giving me a ride into work? This coworker was also due to start their shift pretty soon, so they say okay. And Jason is yapping away to this coworker on the phone, and Jason is horrible at giving directions. So the coworker is never going to find Jason's house. You have to pick him up, take him into work. So Jason tells her, this coworker, I'll meet you at a nearby high school. The high school was only like 8 blocks from Jason's home, and she knew where it was as well. So that was where they're going to meet.
And this whole situation could have been avoided if this was to happen in 2024, y'all. You know what I'm saying, man? Because this back in the olden days, so to speak, where you had to try to give people actual directions. You know what I'm saying? You just couldn't pull it up on your phone, Google Maps, type this in. Hey Siri, some 3253 what the fuck road. Tell me how to get there. You know what I'm saying? It was not that simple back then. But if this would have happened right now, they would have never had to even go meet up at that school. That girl could have came and picked up Jason from his home. Crazy how times change.
Up pretty soon to head into work. At just before 11 a.m. that day, Jason was heading out the door. Him and his brother Michael, they both brought in the garbage cans from outside. You know, their neighbor would say he saw Jason, gave him a hell yeah, gave him a wave, and then Jason sauntered on down the street to meet his coworker. It would take him maybe 10-15 minutes to get there. Now, Jason was always described as a nice, quiet kid, very intelligent, though shy and soft-spoken. He had a speech impediment. He excelled in school, and when quiet Jason, with only a few friends, told his family he would be attending Iowa Western Community College just across the river to study broadcasting, it was a bit of a shock. Jason, you know, you're not great at kind of yapping away, not kind of expecting you to become a radio broadcaster, I'm going to be honest. But when Jason began hosting a show on the local college radio station, he did a 180 and then some. He was an instant hit. He was great. It was like the shy, quiet, mumbly, very soft-spoken Jason. Completely different person once you put him in front of a microphone. He, in fact, was due to start a job at an actual local radio station, not a college one, not a real one, in just a couple of weeks at the end of this month of June. Like, he was heading into Fazoli's restaurant for his shift. It was one of his last shifts. So anyway, his coworker pulls up in her car and she's at the school and she's waiting for Jason, waiting. And she's kind of waiting for a while. They were supposed to meet at 11. It becomes 11:15. It becomes 11:30. He had left way more than enough time and it was only a 15-minute walk. So the coworker then rings up the Jalkowski house, right? And Michael answers the phone and she's like, hey, Jason hasn't arrived, and Michael is, well, he should have. He left with more than enough time. Anyways, the coworker then calls the boss saying Jason's a no-show. She heads in to start her shift, while Jason's brother Michael is thinking, well, where the hell is Jason? Because no one saw him. No one ever saw Jason since. He was reported missing the following day. His family believed, you have to wait 24 hours for a disappearance, and CCTV at the high school where he was due to meet his friend was checked. He never made it to the high school. This was a completely bizarre. He was walking from his house, like the street that would take him to where he was going to go was through a completely residential area. Like if you look at it on the map, it's almost like a straight line, right? You can't get lost here, and you're walking by houses the entire time. So,
and another thing is, this was in the daytime when he went missing. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like it was at night.
Somehow in those few blocks, he vanished. A runaway theory didn't make sense. He was excited to begin his dream career and he hadn't taken anything with him. He still had money in his bank account and never cashed his final checks. So what did happen to Jason Jalkowski? Many think, one possible theory is that he was a victim of a hit and run. While he was walking, he was crossing the street and a car, blammo, knocked him down and possibly killed him. The driver panicked Jason into the back of their car and then they drove off, not knowing what else to do, and then they dumped his body where it would never be found. An accidental hit and run, possibly. Or other people think it was a hit and run, but Jason survived, but he banged his noggin, woke up, in some kind of fugue state, didn't know where he was, didn't know who he was, and then just wandered off, never to be found. I feel like in both of those scenarios, though, as this was a heavily residential area, at about 11 o'clock in the morning, there would have been plenty of people around. I mean, somebody would have seen something, heard something. There would have been some evidence left behind. That theory...
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like either one of those theories.
Just seems unlikely. Taking his own life, again, doesn't seem likely. I mean, you shouldn't treat an assumption as fact, but, everybody would say it's not Jason. He was very excited about his future, didn't have any history of depression, all that kind of stuff. What about an abduction? Well, somebody driving up and then abducting a grown-ass man in broad daylight doesn't exactly seem likely. But if it was an abduction, it must have been random, right? Because he was called into work early, this wasn't his normal time to go for a walk. Nobody really would have known he was even there, right, at that time. Maybe he was walking past a house, somebody lured him in. Jason was said to be quite trusting. He went in, something happened inside a house. It just seems way too random to be plausible. Did he accept a ride from somebody? Again, unlikely. He was going to meet his friend who's giving him a ride. Why would he take another ride?
This one crazy.
16
y'all.
years ago, on this date, a Benson man disappeared without a trace. Investigators say Jason Jolkowski planned to catch a ride to work, but never showed up. Today, his family continues the search.
Questions continue to surround the missing case of Jolkowski, and right now, his family's hoping someone will come forward to fill in the holes in the story. The then 19-year-old was supposed to catch a ride to work. He left his house heading to Benton High, but school video shows he never made it to school or work and was never heard from again. Police have not found any evidence surrounding the disappearance. Investigators and family believe Jolkowski is not a runaway and never letting go of that mysterious day. His mom, Kelly, started Project Jason to help other families like hers. To continue to raise awareness, his family has posters for printouts on projectjason.org, all in hopes of someone coming forward.
It's truly a mystery what could happen during those 8 residential suburban blocks, you know, when he was just going to meet a coworker at the high school. Here's, by the way, a comment, right, I found on Reddit, good old Reddit, and it was written by somebody who was in Omaha, Nebraska. They were about the same age as Jason, they looked quite like Jason, and they weren't too far from him either. They said, though, that this happened around 2003, 2004, they can't exactly remember which, and they said they were walking home early one morning after a night on the town, so they were a little bit hungover. It's Saturday morning, maybe 9-10 a.m. Hungover, walk of shame hour. And some weather is blowing in, not bad, just like sideways mist. I'm hungover and just want to get home. And a car pulls up next to me. The guy kept pace with me and tried to get me to take a ride from him for well longer than any well-meaning good Samaritan would have. It was very strange. He kept pace with me for what seemed like 20 to 30 seconds, and when traffic approached from the east, he drove off. He was very insistent that I take a ride from him, but he had no idea where I was going. He didn't seem to care. It was odd, and I really hadn't thought much about it, or at all really, until I read the description of the poor kid that disappeared and thought, shit. This odd thing happened to me at the same time in the morning. I look like this kid. I'm the same age, and he disappeared 2/3 of a mile from where I was approached around the same time.
Now, if that Redditor is telling the truth, because a lot of people on Reddit, y'all, don't go on Reddit, man. Seriously, if you ever heard somebody say don't go on Reddit, they right about that, because it is a cesspool full of sugar, honey, iced tea, and a lot of people on there be fake. They don't even be the person they claim to be, or they be saying that they had things happening to their life that never freaking happened. Long story short, story long, don't go on Reddit. I don't want to start talking about Reddit. But I'm saying, if that Redditor is telling the truth about what really happened in that similar situation and stuff, that's the one theory I can go with out of all of them, y'all. That Jason willingly got in a car with somebody who said, hey, where you going? Yeah, I'll take you to work. I got you. I'm going past that way. I'll take you. And he got in, and he a victim of one of these killers out here. You know what I'm saying? And more than likely, this person's a serial killer, and they would be in that same area, even years later, trying to do it again to somebody else. So that, if, like I said, if they're Redditor telling the truth, I can go with that theory. But it's just like, as far as this video go, Jesus, man, Mike, this the first story. You said these stories gonna get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as we go on. And number 5 already like got me stomped and stooped and really don't know what is going on. Let's keep going.
To date, no one knows what happened to Jason Jolkowski.
Crazy.
Etobicoke is an area, a district really. It's on the western side of Toronto, Canada. It's fairly suburban as far as I could tell. It's low density, lots of houses and the yada yada. But that is where, in the year of 1985, a young girl named Nicole Louise Morin, she lived. She was the only child of Art and Jean, born in 1977. Born on April Fool's Day, if you can believe that, but there's absolutely no joke about what happened to Nicole. Nothing funny about it. So Nicole lived with her mom, Jean, on the 20th floor, the penthouse floor of an apartment building. Her dad, Art, he lived elsewhere. I don't think her parents were living together anymore. They were separated anyway at this particular time. Nicole was described as pretty much your average 8-year-old. Happy-go-lucky, fun-loving, playing with her little gal pals. In fact, playing with gal pals, that was the plan. Right, one late July day. So, you know, Nicole, middle of the summer, would have been on summer vacation. On July 30th, 1985, she'd arranged a play date with a friend. See, in Nicole's apartment building, there was a swimming pool kind of at the rear of the building. So her friend was going to pop over, and they just spend a day sunbathing and swimming and all sorts of that kind of thing. That particular morning, July 30th, at 10:30 a.m., Nicole went down to the lobby of this apartment building to just collect mail for her mom, Jean. Went back up to her apartment. And then her friend arrived shortly before 11 a.m., buzzed in, and Nicole answered the buzz, says, hey, I'll be right down. She was just getting her stuff together, putting on her bathing suit and all that sort of stuff. So she was seen leaving her apartment in this building wearing a bathing suit with a headband on and canvas shoes, carrying a bag. And in the bag was like towels, suntan lotion, t-shirt, the kind of stuff you just normally bring to a swimming pool, nothing strange. As she was walking...
Okay, am I tripping, y'all? Am I being too overprotective? Am I thinking crazy? And I understand this was in 1985. This was a long time ago and times was different. But am I wrong for feeling like, why would y'all let y'all little girl walk out this apartment by herself in her swimming suit to go way down into a swimming pool and have a play date with this other little girl? Like, what I'm trying to say is, do y'all feel like it, or is it just me that this little girl and whoever friend that she should have some supervision at this pool? Like, just me personally, ain't no way in the hell I'll let my little girl walk out my damn apartment and go down there. No, I'm gonna walk you to the pool, and when we get down there, baby, if one of their parents not there to watch y'all, I'm gonna stay here and watch y'all. Like, no, this girl is so young. I can't remember what age Mike said, but I don't feel like she at the age to be doing what they letting her do. Long story short, short story long.
Walking out the door, she said bye to her mom, Jean, who was in the apartment. Her mom, Jean, ran a small daycare, like a small children's daycare out of the apartment, and she'd be down to the lobby to meet her friend down there, a minute or two. However, her friend was waiting in the lobby of that apartment building, and once again was waiting, and then waiting some more. After about 15 minutes, she just buzzed Nicole, and Nicole said, I'll be down in a minute. After 15 minutes passed, she buzzes up again. Where are you, Nicole? Are you coming or what? Jean answers and says, oh, you haven't met her? Oh, maybe she just went to the swimming pool. Maybe she missed you. She's meeting some other friends. Go check the swimming pool. The friend goes and checks, wanders around, and cannot see Nicole anywhere. Nicole Moran was reported missing at 3 p.m. that day, 4 hours after she was supposed to meet her friend when she left her apartment building. Somehow, Nicole Moran vanished from somewhere between her apartment and the lobby of the same building. She vanished, which would have been walking down the corridor into an elevator, and then you're in the lobby. How is that possible? So, I hear you're barking, big dog. Was she walking down the corridor towards the elevator? Somebody in one of the apartments had seen her, grabbed her, lured her in. Maybe they had seen her half an hour before when she'd gone down to collect the mail. They, liked what they see. Some predator liked what they saw, and then when she was walking by again, they got her. Well, the police took this about as seriously as you'd want to when an 8-year-old girl goes missing. They knocked on every single door. And there's 426 apartments in this building. They went to every single building, knocking on doors, interviewing everybody who lived there, and when they went to an apartment, knocked, and they got no answer, they let themselves in. They took this extremely seriously. They checked the utility passageways, the car parks, all the sections that you wouldn't normally be in. Zero evidence of where Nicole went.
And I just heard Mike say it then. 8 years old? I'm not letting my 8 years... This is the equivalent... I don't know, y'all. Maybe I just be tripping. But I feel like this is almost the equivalent of... Just take the whole apartment complex thing out of it. This is almost like letting your little 8-year-old girl go meet her friend down the street, and instead of you driving her to the little girl house, you letting her walk to the little girl house in the neighborhood. 8-year-old. I'm not letting my 8-year-old girl walk nowhere other than school. And when she walking to school, if I maybe let something like that happen, best believe she gonna be walking with other students. It's gonna be on the main road and all that. I don't know why I'm so mad at that part of it. Am I tripping? Let's go.
They set up roadblocks on all streets around the building, canvassed pretty much everywhere. No evidence was found. One woman would say she believed she had seen her in the lobby, but that was it. Another theory was maybe she made it to the lobby, somehow missed her friend, went outside to look for her, and maybe something happened there. Dogs were brought in. Almost 1,000 locals joined in the search. It became the biggest missing persons investigation in Toronto police history. And they came up empty. Rewards were offered. Any nearby child predators, sex offenders were interviewed, investigated. nothing. Two strange things kind of come up a lot when you're looking into this case. One was that a person who lived in the building claimed that about 45 minutes before Nicole disappeared, they'd seen a strange woman on Nicole's floor, which is the 20th floor, the top floor. That woman has never come forward. Who she was, who was a strange woman wandering around. Another thing was that in Nicole's diary, which they found in her apartment, she had written, "I'm going to disappear." So, had Nicole ran away? Had that been her plan? It'd be unusual for, 8-year-olds, do they usually run? I suppose they can run away, but it just seemed weird that she'd run away in her bathing suit. Who knows, maybe she had her stuff packed in her bags, but it doesn't believe she did. But maybe she had left her apartment, exited the entire building through a side door where nobody else would have seen her, and just ran away, and then maybe something happened to her there. We don't know. Psychics, private detectives, some claim to have seen her on a Dutch website about kids who were trafficked and abused. Searches are still being done to this day, but the fate of Nicole Moran remains a mystery. It's most likely, of course, that whoever took Nicole was a fellow resident, a neighbour of Nicole who could have been watching her going to and from down to the mailbox, and then when she was walking past, he lured her in and got her. And in the 4 hours from, when she went missing to when she was reported missing, was able to get her out of the building. It is extremely unlikely that it would be just some stranger wandering into the building. And I genuinely don't think that she made it down to the lobby. An interesting fact about this particular building, and a fact pretty much all of the residents would have been aware of, was that the very next day, security cameras were due to be installed all around the building. So, if the predator was on the prowl, this would have been their last chance to abduct somebody, and maybe they took that chance.
We were able to relook at a number of tips, and we were able to find some tips that kind of pointed to each other, and it centered on one area, so we went up and investigated that area.
New information has renewed efforts to solve the disappearance of 8-year-old Nicole Moran. Nicole left her Etobicoke apartment building on the West Mall July 30th, 1985. She was never seen again. Late last month, police spent a week excavating a wooded area north of the city, but so far coming up empty-handed. There is now also a full-time investigator working on this case, as well as officers who are digitizing tips and evidence.
Man, that's a tragic one. Just the fact that she was 8 years old, y'all. Man, rest in peace. And I hate to say that it's a possibility. It's a possibility. I admit it that she's still alive, but I don't think she's alive, man. I just really feel that in my heart and soul. And y'all know how I was trying to make the analogy about it's like letting your child walk through the neighborhood and meeting up with a friend at her house at 8 years old or whatever. The more I'm thinking about it, man, and this the theory that I'm gonna go with for this one. I feel like this is even worse because they was on the 20th floor. So this little girl got to go through all these floors, and you know how these buildings is, man. You got a lot of different apartments just on one floor. So she walking past all these people apartments, and you never know who up in them. You never know who the crazy mother up in one of these apartments. And I feel like a crazy mother either snatched her up real quick or convinced her some kind of way to come in their apartment, and they did the worst things that you can think about. You know what I'm saying, to her, and I do think they end up killing her. I want to say W to the police and the community because they really did try to find this little girl. Want to say W to them, man. And they tried their hardest, and even them trying to reopen this case all these years later, still trying to figure out what happened to her. And so shout out to them. But there's one more thing I wanted to say. Oh, the thing that's crazy about it is she had wrote in her diary, "I'm going to disappear." Now that is a little crazy now. It do kind of make you think like, did she run away? I don't know, y'all. That's just 2 cases. We still got 3 more to go. And them first 2 was crazy. Let's go to number 3.
This next story takes us to Ireland. Jeez, I just covered Ireland's Vanishing Triangle a couple of weeks ago, and here we are again. Only this one doesn't involve missing young women, a scary amount of missing young women. This is just one young fella, 13-year-old Philip Carnes. He lived in Rathfarnham, Dublin. It was October 1986, right? Just 1 week before Halloween. So the firecrackers are coming out, fireworks coming out, everybody's getting the decorations ready, the costumes ready, although then again, this is 80s in Ireland. which probably just means black bin bag. Plastic with some holes put in it. Rathfarnham is a south suburb of Dublin, residential area, and it was there that young Philip lived with his parents and 5 siblings. That day, Philip, he was in school, right at Closh Aina, just down the road from where he lived, and as it was approaching lunchtime, well, most lunchtimes Philip would actually go home for lunch. It's pretty common in Ireland to do that. So at around 12:45 this particular day, which was October 23rd, he was walking out to school to go home for lunch, and it was about a 15-minute walk from Closh Aina Secondary School to where he lived. So lunch was an hour break for him. Philip, he arrived home, got some grub, ham sandwiches again. You know, was chilling out in his house for a little bit, and then at 1:30 p.m, he was heading out the door to go back to, his school, Closh Aina Secondary School. As I said, it would take 15 minutes to get from his home to his school. It's a fairly straightforward walk. He can't really go wrong. However, he didn't make it to the school. In fact, he was never seen again.
Damn.
The walk from his house to the school was pretty much a straight line with only one turn. It was houses the entire way, a very residential area. But somehow, during the 15 minutes it would take, he vanished. He was soon reported missing, and the searches began. Hundreds got involved in the searches for young Philip. It was major news. As you can imagine, this is like every parent's worst nightmare, and the fact that it happens right before Halloween always just gives a weird, eerie feeling. But during those first 6 days, they found absolutely nothing. It was then on the 7th day, they did find something. Now, so this was in a laneway, just off from where he would have been walking. Like, it was in a laneway, as you can see in the map. He would have no reason to have been walking through this lane. In that lane, they found his school bag. The school bag, it had his pencils, his pencil case, all his bits and bobs for school. It was missing 3 books that he would have had with him. They were not in that bag. And it also, well, the interesting thing is that lane had been searched multiple times in the 6 days since he disappeared. And then it magically appears on the 7th. So that bag had been placed there for sure. It also rained recently. The bag was like perfectly dry. Philip, or probably more likely who abducted Philip, put the bag back. Why? A few weeks later,
I feel like whoever put that bag back, the reason they put it back is the F with the police. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just to try to do to be even more evil and devilish than they already been. Now you want to try to play around and F with the police, F with the family mind and all that, man. Like, it's some freaking disgusting people in this world. But I want to say this. He's a child too, only 13 years old, but it is just for me, man. It's a little different than 8 years old. I'm still stuck on the case before, man. That was a little girl. Now, would I let my 13-year-old walk down to the pool and stuff? Maybe yes. I probably let that happen. But eight almost like a baby to me. Anyway, this one here, so similar to the first case also, because he walking damn near a straight line in this residential area. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people out and ain't nobody seen nothing.
The Gardaí, the Irish police, they were contacted by a passing driver who claims they saw someone believed to have been Philip on Philip's road at about 1:30 p.m. So looks like I'm on the same road at the right time, getting into a car. They would just say driven by a guy with white hair, and that was it. They didn't have any more information.
It's completely out of character for him to be not to be home. He always came home within a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, unless he had football or unless he had any other activity, or
Had you ever any inclination that he was in trouble or that he was likely to run away? Mr. Kearns, had you any indication?
No, he seemed to be getting on well at school. We've spoken to his teachers, they had no problems with him.
At the moment, the Gardaí are treating this as just another case of a missing child, and literally one of hundreds they get every year. But this case is different, they say, because this child has been missing for almost a week. And normally, children who go missing return home after just a night or two.
No trace, and he hasn't been with any relatives or friends that we can trace.
What do you think has happened, from what you know already?
Well, my feeling is that he wasn't the kind of boy that'd run away or child that'd run away. He was much too quiet, and he wasn't anyway self-assured or that. So the only thing I think somebody or something must have either coercion or trickery taken him, you know.
Theories galore, you know, everything from predators, Satanists, oh lord, you know, they were mentioned, psychics were brought in. Was he accidentally hit by a car and the driver panicked? You know the drill. Kids from the school said the rumour was a man with sweets had lured him into a van, which is about as stereotypical as it gets, I suppose. There were sightings around the world, but nothing substantial.
This afternoon's big search for 13-year-old Philip Kearns was a community's response to his disappearance. However, despite the hundreds of hours that have gone into the search so far over the past 17 days, the Gardaí are still baffled by his disappearance.
Then in 2016, a very strange lead came forward, and here, look, over 30 years later, this is when a lead comes forward. Very weird, but there was a particular reason why it had taken so long. It was a woman who was only coming forward now because the man she believed was responsible for whatever happened to Philip, he was on his deathbed. So she only felt comfortable coming forward now. She was alleging a man named Eamon Cook was responsible. Now, he was kind of already a suspect, but, well, he had quite the history. So Eamon Cook was kind of sort of a little bit well known in the city. He ran a pirate radio station, pirate like DJ radio station. His name was Captain Cook. And a pirate radio station is a lot less cool than it, you know, actually sounds. So Captain Eamon Cook of the good ship Shithead had a long and kind of violent history.
We're not defined a lot. Our position is we feel the new Broadcasting Act violates the Constitution, and we've brought it before Justice Hamilton in the High Court, and he agrees that there is a case to answer and set down that we must serve plenary summonses on Ray Burke and Sean Connolly and the Commission within 10 days.
I mean, good lord, look at him. Eamon, answer me this. Do you look like a stereotypical child predator? Give me your simple answer, please.
Yes. Simple answer, yes.
Thanks. He had a number of convictions.
Yes, man, I know we don't supposed to judge book by the cover, but that man looked crazy as hell.
Since he was young, of a troublemaker and just a monster. 1952, bombing a monument. 1957, shooting at police during a robbery. 1978, arrested for the pirate radio. 1986, the year Philip vanished, arson and assault. 2001, dangerous driving. And then 2003, here we go, arrested for the attempted, and indecent assault of 4 teenage girls, and those were all charges dating back to the mid-70s. He would be convicted but released on a technicality, go on trial again in 2007, and let's just say Eamon Cook's victims came forward with some more information, because in the meantime he had been threatening them, bribing them, and had even set one of their houses on fire. Yep. But he got sentenced this time, got 10 years. And he would actually die in June of 2016. But it was when he was dying on his deathbed and he'd been released to a hospice that this young woman came forward a month before he died, in May 2016, saying, "Only now do I feel safe to tell you what he did, what I saw him do." This woman, who's only 9 at the time, which makes you think, what was she doing in the car with a predator like him? She would say that they'd been driving and he'd picked up Philip Kearns, driven in to where he broadcast his pirate radio station, and then Philip and Eamon, they got into some kind of fight, and next thing this woman says she saw is Eamon hitting Philip over the head with an object, a hard enough object, that it killed Philip. This woman says she fainted, and next thing she knows, Philip's body, don't know where it is. Now, the police didn't find Eamon's DNA on the bag, touch DNA or anything like that. Doesn't mean doesn't mean he didn't do it, but they didn't find it, so they weren't entirely sure how real her story was, and the police did actually go speak with Eamon while he was on his deathbed about a couple weeks before he croaked, and he could confirm parts of her story were true, but he also had dementia at this point, so you're not really going to get much use out of him. Weirdly,
I don't know, y'all. Y'all believe that lady story? I don't know if I believe it, man. Because if you was 9 years old when this happened, okay, and if first of all, like Mom Mike said, why you in the car with a freaking predator? I know you 9, but if you in the car with a predator, long story short, story long, what I'm trying to say is the damn predator not gonna let you go. He not gonna let you back free. You know what I'm saying, man? So especially when you add on to the fact that you say you witnessed this man killing Philip. You seen it and you passed out. And when you woke up, he was gone. If Eamon would have killed that boy in front of you, I believe he would have killed you too. So you can't tell nobody. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Her story just don't check out to me. Freaking weird.
I guess to give more credence to his involvement, they found a note in his home. It was among other cutouts from newspapers about missing Philip Cairns and other young boys who had gone missing. This note read, "Everything we do is to establish the truth. Everything we do is designed to establish the truth. Philip Cairns, Cairns." His surname is spelled differently and then a second time correctly, but in different handwriting. This was seized from Eamon Cook's home following his death. Another note saw him refer to Philip Cairns as, quote, "my son, Philip," and also October 1986, Philip Cairns. He then wrote about other children who were killed, writing, "Same as Philip, then 14, killed." Even if he wasn't involved, it certainly seemed like Eamon Cook had a strong interest in his disappearance and other young children who had horrible fates. That seems like it could be a likely scenario, but unfortunately we'll probably never know what really happened to Philip Cairns. It is one of Ireland's greatest mysteries.
I don't know, man. Now, see, my theory on this one, y'all, is I'm leaning towards that Eamon did it. And not only did it to him, but probably did it to adopted and killed a lot of other children, too. Because why he so infatuated with them and got evidence of writing about them in his home and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And another thing that we can add on is just the fact of all his criminal record. For over like 30 years, from like the 70s to the 2000s, early 2000s, of all type of crazy ish he have done. So yes, it wouldn't surprise me if it's him, man. I think all the evidence really is pointing towards him. He just never came out and admitted to it. But man, if it walked like a duck, I'm just saying, if it walked like that goddamn duck, my brothers and sisters, then you know what it is, right? The only thing that bothered me with that one is I don't believe that latest story. Your story just don't check out. Ain't no way in the hell a predator who freaking killing people and stuff just gonna abduct you but let you go. You never told your mama and daddy that you was in a car with a strange man and y'all was riding around and you actually seen him kill somebody. You just kept that to yourself at 9 years old. You know at 9 years old we tell every goddamn thing. Come on, man. Hell no. I don't believe that story. This has been good so far, y'all. We still got a while to go, though. Let's get to number 2.
This next story takes us to Quebec City in 2008. See, on the morning of February 17th of that year, a young woman, 24-year-old Marilyn Bergeron, was heading out the door for a walk. Things hadn't been going great for poor Marilyn the last couple of months. She seemed depressed. She seemed like she was in a state, maybe going through some mental health problems. You know, that, but actually, at the same time, it seemed like there was a lot more than... It seemed like there was an external force that was making her act and feel this way. Because, you know, growing up, Marilyn had been the life of the party. Kind of a troublemaker at times, but she was lovely, kind, fun-loving, sometimes hung out with wrong people, but more often than not was just a great person. She worked as an audio technician in Montreal. But she'd recently returned to Quebec City, where her family lived, from Montreal, because she was saying she did not feel safe in Montreal anymore. Something had happened. She called her mother saying, "I'm too scared to be here," and then just showed up at the family home unannounced, and herself and her parents, made multiple trips over and back, grabbed her stuff from Montreal, brought it back to Quebec. Now, so they would ask Marilyn, what's going on? Why are you too scared? Explain. Marilyn wouldn't say. She would never say. But her mom said it seemed like she was carrying something heavy. She would burst into tears at times. One thing I've noticed throughout this, and it's probably what you're thinking, is maybe she's going through some mental health issues, but nobody ever mentions that, and her family don't mention that. They all say something, it seemed like something happened, rather than she was maybe battling severe depression or anything like that. But no matter what, secrets, always with the secrets. Then,
I think this the one that's talking about the title. This is the story that is in the title, y'all. Teen vanishes before exposing predator's horrifying secret. This lady knew something about somebody who she was staying when she was staying in where, Montreal? I think that's what she was staying at the time. She found out something about somebody and she got scared and she called mom and dad to come get me, but she wouldn't tell mom and daddy what this actual secret was though, or why she wanted to go back home.
On the morning of the 17th, she was heading out the door for a walk. Her parents were there. They saw her going out. They're like, oh no, they were kind of worried about her. So her mom had a coffee with her, just trying to get her to stay. But regardless, Marilyn walked out the door. And that was one of the last times she was seen, but she never returned home. About 10 minutes after she left the home, she was spotted on a security camera at an ATM. She was trying to withdraw 60 Canadian dollars. The machine, however, declined the money. It wasn't her bank account she was trying to access, it was her dad's, so she never really used it. But she did have a card he had given her, and he had told her the PIN ages ago, kind of like emergency, in case you ever need money, you can use my account. But likely, as she had never used it, she might have just forgotten the PIN number. In the footage, it looks like she's looking around, and she does seem scared. From people who know the area where this bank is, she's looking out onto a street, and some people suggested perhaps she's looking at a car. She's also wearing a backpack. Her mom would say she did not have that on her when she left the house, and they'd never seen that backpack before. Somehow in the 10 minutes, between this footage and when she left the house, she had a backpack. See, back in December, 2 months before all of this, she had met up with a friend, and then they'd gone to a party together, and the friend would say, yeah, Marilyn, she wasn't herself back then. It seemed like there was really, really something wrong, something heavy. Something was bothering her. She wasn't her usual happy, jolly self. Marilyn, they're at this party. Marilyn starts talking to a friend, then goes back to this guy, the friend who was telling the story, and she would just say, I have to go. We have to go. We have to get out of here. And so, they went and they were walking, and Marilyn and this guy were just yapping away, and he's trying to, like, what's wrong, Marilyn? Why are you acting this way? And he asked her, like, were you sexually assaulted? Did somebody attack you? Or are you the victim of some kind of thing? And she would say, no, it's worse than that. She would say, it's worse. You can't imagine what I've been put through. This guy, her friend kept trying to get it out of Marilyn for hours and hours and hours, and Marilyn, she wasn't giving it. This guy would say, it seemed like Marilyn was trying to protect him by not telling him what she had been put through. And the fact that it's put through makes you think that, somebody had done something to her, or, it's an external thing that is putting her through something.
Yeah.
After this ATM footage, the next sighting was 5 hours later at a cafe, and it was further away from her family home. The waitress said she seemed sad. And this was 12 miles away, so people think she got a lift there, so more kind of thinking that she wasn't alone. There was some mysterious person there with her. But the waitress said in the cafe she was alone. After that, she wasn't seen. A missing persons investigation began. The police, other than what I just went through, came up with nothing. It wouldn't be until 2009 that there came a lead, a substantial one at that, because then something very, very strange happened. And this only came out years and years later. At 2 a.m. on a wet, freezing cold, horrible December night, so this is almost 2 years after Marilyn Bergeron disappeared, a man named Guy and his wife were asleep in their home in the town of Hawkesbury, just across the border from Quebec in Ontario, not far from Montreal, but a good 3.5 hours from Quebec City. Guy and his wife were asleep in bed, and they got a knock, knock, knock on his front door. So Guy, you're hearing the banging, bang, banging on his door. He runs down, he opens the door, and standing on his doorstep is a young woman wearing like a really light jacket, t-shirt, jeans, and high heels. He says she's shivering with the cold. She's absolutely drenched from the rain. 2 a.m. on a December night in Canada, not the best place to be. And she just asks Guy, can I use your phone? Guy says, of course. He lets her in, he gives her a towel, he dries her off, tries to warm her up, and she's, very grateful. She picks up the phone, she tries to dial somebody, and Guy would say it didn't seem like she got whoever she was trying to call, because she didn't speak. It seemed like either the number was wrong or nobody picked up. He doesn't know. She asks if he knows where Chamberlain Street is, which is it's only a couple of blocks away, maybe a 15-minute walk. And Guy says, yeah, he gives her directions. He says, I'll drive you there, shouldn't be walking around at this time of night. And she refuses. She says, no, thank you so much for letting me use your phone. Sorry for waking you. And off she goes. he never saw her again. Chamberlain Street, by the way, it just seems like a rather unremarkable suburban neighborhood. Houses, not really much else. If authorities did manage to track down the number she dialed, which you think would be possible, if they found it, they never released who she was trying to contact. Guy would say she didn't seem drunk. She didn't seem like she was on drugs. She was perfectly, coherent. It seemed like she was in her right frame of mind, just not in the right situation. And of course then, it's a couple of months later, Guy sees a missing persons poster for Marilyn Bergeron. That's who I seen. She had blonde hair when he seen her, but that was her. And she had previously dyed her hair blonde, so that wasn't like out of character for her hair to be that color. The police, speaking with a guy in Hawkesbury, believe he's telling the truth and that's who he saw. In fact, they said they would have around approximately 20 credible tips of people citing Marilyn Bergeron in the town of Hawkesbury. Random people coming forward say, hey, I believe saw her, yada yada yada. Hawkesbury, not a big place, but searching the town, nothing.
It's been...
Now, I know this gonna sound like crazy on being like contradicting myself or whatever, but in this case, y'all, I kind of believe Guy. Now, I didn't believe the little girl with the old lady who said she was 9-year-old. We're not gonna go back through that story. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the one before this one. But in this one, I believe that Guy really met her or let her use his phone or whatever, man. I kind of believe that story, and I can't really even explain to y'all why I really do believe that. I guess I believe it more than anything because she's just acting strange anyway. Like, she is just very... This got to be the most strange one as far as the victim is concerned. Like, their actions and the way they was moving and everything that was going on before they even disappeared and all that. And then seeing the CCTV footage of her trying to get some money out the bank at the ATM or whatever, and how she was looking around and stuff, looked like she was staring at somebody or something. You got a lot of people saying they have seen her. Like, this is one of those ones where I believe a witness like Guy. Let's go.
10 years since 24-year-old Marilyn Bergeron left her parents' home in Quebec City and never returned.
This is what police think she would look like today, at the age of 34.
I've lost these last 10 years with her, but we were very close, and I miss her every day.
Her parents and older sister Nathalie won't give up the search.
They're still asking themselves, is my daughter still alive? What happened to her?
An upbeat person, Bergeron was living in Montreal in 2008 and worked at Steve's music store.
Shortly before she went missing, that spirit was gone. She seemed very concerned, very afraid.
She moved to Quebec City to live with her parents.
She told her mom that she would go for a short walk, be back in a couple of hours, and we found out later on that she stopped by a Caisse des Jardins near her home to withdraw some money, and she ended up on the south shore of Quebec City, where she stopped in a Café Dépôt to buy a coffee, and from that moment onwards, she vanished without a trace.
A year later, and every year after that, the family has struggled to find out what happened.
Maybe she just simply went to start a new life. Who knows? Who knows these things? Maybe she's... she kept going. She went to, Toronto or somewhere, but she last seen in 2009, 15 years later. We still have no idea what happened to Marilyn.
And see, there's another thing I'm going to say about this story, too. I believe that Marilyn, I ain't going to say I 100% believe, but I think it is a great possibility that she's still alive. Real talk, man. Just the whole way that whole story played out and the mysterious mystery behind it all, man, and the way she was moving and stuff, that lady probably did go start a whole nother life with whoever or something. It does happen, my brothers and sisters. I ain't gonna say it happened a lot, but there are times where people go missing for years. I'm talking about 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and then they'll finally be reunited back with their family. You know what I'm saying, man? Or they'll finally stop hiding from their original family and go back to them and let them know what they've been doing. I don't freaking know, man, but it does freaking happen, and I feel like this is one of those times. I'm more convinced that she is alive than anybody else of those first 3 stories that we watched. This fourth one that we just seen about her, I really do think that lady is alive. It's so much different than the little 8-year-old, sadly, but I really do think that 8-year-old was murdered. Let's get to the last one.
The town of Nocona lies in Texas. It lies just to the northwest of Dallas, right in the Tornado Alley country. But you know what? Around the time of 2015, it wasn't no big old gust of wind that the locals living in this town were worried about. That wasn't on their mind. It was something much, much darker and much more sinister. See, in 2015, young Caleb Deal had just turned 18 years of age. He was a pretty regular kid for his age, the youngest of 5 kids, and definitely the most adventurous. A kid with zero fear, and doing all the things kids who grew up in these sort of nowhere of note places do. He went to school, he did odd jobs for a few dollars more, he hung out with his friends, of which he had a good few. 2 good friends, though, of young Caleb Deal, his best friends. They were the Howard boys. 2, kids of the Howard family. They're around the same age as him, so he would hang out with the Howard family a lot. In fact, he was very, very close with the Howard family. He would even go on vacations from time to time with them whenever they were, So let's get to the day of, which was Monday, March 30th, 2015. Caleb, he'd been 18 for only 2 weeks at this stage. It was a Monday, so after school, he's home in his house, and at about 5 p.m., Caleb is walking out the door of his house. He says to his sister, I'm just going to meet up with my friends, the Howard boys. Be right back. So Caleb walks out the front door, gets into a truck that's just parked just out front, turns on the ignition and drives off. Now, this truck was not Caleb's truck. He had actually borrowed this truck. This truck belonged to Ricky Howard, who was the father of his friends, the Howard boys. Ricky Howard was a well-known figure in the area. He had been the former president of the bank, and he owned an extensive ranch. He was the one who gave Caleb all sorts of jobs around the place, chores to do on his property and so forth. His land, it was extensive, and he had a lot of cattle. However, Caleb, going to meet up with his friends, should be back in a couple of hours. Well, when he didn't come back that night, that's when you're, wonder where Caleb is. The next day, Tuesday morning, school day, doesn't turn up at all to school. That's when the real panic and the fear begins to set in deeper and deeper. Then it was the Wednesday. That's when his mom and his sister go to the Nocona Sheriff's Office and they report 18-year-old Caleb Deal missing. All calls to his phone were going to voicemail. One thing strange off the bat regarding Caleb's disappearance is that as they were going to the police station, Caleb's mom calls Ricky Howard, right? And she's like, listen, we last seen Caleb and he was driving your truck. So we're going to give the police your license number, as it seems he's driven off somewhere and he's not answering his phone. Ricky then says, truck is here. I got the truck. The truck is on my, it's back on my land. I have it. So Caleb must have gone, dropped off the truck, and then bounced. And that was Wednesday. Caleb was last seen on the Monday. So how long had the truck? Say when? How long had it been there? One of the first.
Hold up. This shit don't make no goddamn sense, man. How, Ricky, I think that's the father name. How did the truck get back to your house, but Caleb didn't? You got some explaining to do, buddy, because this ain't making no sense.
First things the authorities do, they always do when someone goes missing. Track your phone, right? So they did. Where was his phone pinging and pinging and pinging so we can find out where he'd been? His phone last pinged on the Howard property, when it seems maybe he had gone off to drop the truck and left his phone there. And the police then went. We're looking around the truck, no evidence there. But then Ricky would say, you know what, a couple of days earlier, I saw a broken phone, in the garage where the truck was. It was just lying there, and I assumed it was one of, he had a lot of workers on his ranch, as you can imagine. Just assumed it was one of them, so I just chucked it in the bin. Weird. So would Caleb come back, and definitely something happened right here. Well, likely. Because that wasn't only Caleb's phone that was strange, it was Ricky's phone too. The police wanted to see Ricky's phone. He had last been on your property, bringing your truck back. Had you seen him? Ricky would say, no, I haven't seen him. I hadn't even seen him since the week before. Truck just kind of appeared here. But the police trying to get Ricky's phone, he basically destroyed it, and he chopped up his SIM card with the scissors into tiny little pieces, which is very rational behavior, as you can imagine.
I'm damn near at the point where I feel like they just need to lock his ass up, man. You guilty, man. Why on God's green earth would you destroy your phone? Why on God's green earth would you chop your damn, scissor your damn SIM card up? Like, come on, bro. Why, how did the truck get here? Ricky full of that, y'all know what.
Spreading out from the shop where the truck was across the vast property, they found a burn pit on the Howard land. Inside this burn pit, 3 computer towers, right? So the police were like, interesting. They go to Ricky. Ricky says, oh, those? They were my parents. My parents are dead. So I thought the best thing to do, set them up, hey, fire rocks, right? I'm gonna blow them up. It's gonna be great. That's a bit weird that he was destroying computer stuff.
Okay, time out, y'all. I feel like we watching the Mr. Baller right now, and I have solved the case. I have cracked the freaking case. I'm already throwing my theory out there, and I got it wrong because I thought the title was about the video that we watched before about Madeline, but she was 24, so she wasn't a teen. But Caleb is 18, so he is still a teenager, and all the craziness that I was just talking about, okay. Now we have got to the point where we have found out that for some odd reason on God's green earth, Ricky has grabbed the computers, all these computers, and set them on fire in this burn type pit on his property, right? Okay. And then he come up with another BS and the story that don't make no sense. Talking about these my parents' computers and they dead, so I just thought it was good for me to just get rid of these like this way instead of just throwing them away. He burned them. Okay. Anyway, I say all that to say this. Long story short, story long. I think that those computers had the CP word on it. And y'all know what the CP is. It's 2 words. Y'all know what it is. I think that's what was on those computers. And Caleb found out some kind of way. And Ricky murdered him and was trying to get rid of the evidence at the same time. Long story short, short story long. I know a lot of y'all was thinking that too. But y'all know how I gotta explain, my brothers and sisters. I gotta talk to you. Let's finish it up.
The guy seemingly goes missing on his own. Police and Caleb's family, they confronted Ricky Howard again and again and again. And Ricky would never change his story. He would say, I haven't seen Caleb. Stop asking. You haven't seen him. Don't know where he is. Leave me alone. But it certainly appeared like Caleb vanished on your land. 2 years would pass with still no answers in the disappearance of Caleb Deal. And I mean, even 2 years past, we don't get any more answers. But it was in 2017 that something very, very mind-blowing, I think is the only way to put it, happened. Caleb's mom, obviously she could never forget her son's disappearance. You never get over something like that. But anyway, in this particular day, this fine day, his mom was cleaning the home. The Deal home, she was doing a big deep clean, and she was in their bathroom, cleaning up this and that, cleaning the bath and the shower and the tiles and the whatever. And then see, they had a bath, and above the bath was this little cabinet. It's kind of like one of those cabinets, we all have it. It's like you have a cabinet or a drawer in your home that you kind of just forget is there. You rarely use it and you're like, oh, what's in here? Can't remember. That was like this cabinet. They never used it. So she opens it and is going through all this stuff she's probably forgotten of it. And then at the very back of this cabinet, she finds something kind of weird, sort of hair-raising. It was a bag. She takes out the bag, and in it she finds an alarm clock. But the alarm clock had a hidden camera in it. The plate has been removed, so you can clearly see that the camera is there. And then she's thinking, oh, has somebody been watching us, while we're taking a shower? Some creep or whatever? But no, it was kind of hidden away. It wasn't powered or anything like that. There's not only, though, the alarm clock with a hidden camera in it, there's also a notepad with handwritten notes on it and a voice recorder. And so she's thinking, this is very strange. Has that anything to do with Caleb's disappearance? Well, she presses play on the voice recorder, and whose voice does she hear? Ricky Howard's voice. So What was all this shit, and why was it here? Why was Ricky's stuff here? Well, she hears Ricky answering questions that the police might ask you. Because it would turn out that Ricky and Caleb had a dark history, and Ricky himself had an extremely disturbing one. What all this stuff was evidence that Caleb had been collecting. He had stolen this stuff from Ricky Howard and was collecting it and going to bring it to the police. Caleb was going to expose Ricky right before he completely vanished on Ricky's land. Ricky Howard had been in trouble with the law before, but for white-collar crime. When he'd been working in banking, he'd actually gotten fired from working in banks because, was a bit, light with the fingers around money. But that's not really the worrying thing. White-collar crime, who cares? It was the other accusations that were thrown at him. See, Ricky Howard had been accused by 5 young men of sexual assault. Each one of those young men had worked on the Ricky Howard ranch, doing chores just like Caleb had been doing. Now, Ricky Howard was never charged with any of those crimes. They weren't just allegations, but he had to undertake sex offender treatment. So he was accused of it, but never charged and convicted of it. But he had to take sex offender treatment. No smoke without fire. So part of the sex offender treatment he was going to was regular polygraphs he would have to do with a court-appointed therapist to make sure he didn't have these, urges, these dark urges against young men. What Caleb's mother had found was him practicing to deceive the questions he would get, to deceive polygraph examinations he would get. So when they asked him, hey, are you going to, sexually assault a young man again? He would say no. And they would believe him. The police also gained access to those computers he had burned, and they found some recoverable data on them. They found images of him abusing Caleb, among other boys.
Wow.
Ricky Howard was eventually sentenced to 30 years in prison for exploiting teenage boys. That was related to the earlier allegations. Whatever happened to Caleb Deal, he was not charged with. It looks like Caleb was going to expose Ricky Howard, show that he was trying to deceive the courts, that he was still accessing CP, and was a predator. A very brave young man, Caleb, a victim himself of Ricky's. Courageous of him to steal items from his abuser's home and then hide them. But we still don't know whatever happened to him. But unfortunately, and I said it really more disturbing, we can probably disturbingly hazard a guess as to what happened to Caleb Deal.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you so much for watching. As always, it means the absolute world to me that you're here watching this whole video. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, that'll kind of about wrap it up. As always, please let me know your thoughts on each of these cases down below. Please subscribe to see new stories every week. And the next whole video will be up. Hey, it'll be up when it's up. If you're looking for more of That Chapter stuff, please check out the That Chapter podcast, which releases a brand new episode every single Monday. But you know what? Till then, please take care of each other and yourselves. Because I love you. Mike out.
Yep, my brothers and sisters. Rest in peace to Caleb, man. Yeah, man, I'm mixing up my words, man, because I want to say Caleb, he and I think that's what ended up getting him killed, that he was trying to expose Ricky. You know what I'm saying, man? And I hate to say that, but I think that's what really ended up getting him killed by Ricky, man. And when I predicted that it was gonna be CP being team, I didn't really think that it was gonna be actual footage of CP he been doing to them. That man was SA-ing his young teenage co-workers, and they was boys. Like, what the freak, man? Not saying that it make it no better if it was girls. Don't y'all get my words all mixed up now. Not saying it's no better, but it's just like, what the freak, man? Jesus freaking Christ. These young teenagers you doing this stuff to, you taking advantage of them working for you, and you got a whole nother evilness going on. You know what I'm saying? But at least that when we figured out who the freak was doing it, and it's so crazy how we figured it out. This why I say shout out to Caleb again, and rest in peace too. But just shout out to him, because he was collecting that footage and had it up in that little cubby hole, in that little drawer, and 2 years later, his mama found that evidence, and that cracked the case, man. That is another example of when people be freaking solving their murders or whatever, even though we technically don't even know he murdered. You know what I'm saying, man? Because we never found nobody, don't know what the freak happened to him. But if I had to take a guess about that, I'll say that Ricky more than likely killed him and then burned his body, like he burnt them down computers or something somewhere on his farm, or maybe buried him somewhere on his land or whatever, man. This was crazy. I don't want to go on and on, my brothers and sisters. It was 4 more crazy cases just like this one. I don't want to go back through them because we have been here long enough. I will just say this. This is another one of those cases talking about Caleb now. Why I do sadly but truly feel like he has passed away. You know what I'm saying? He ain't out there living. But Madeline, I feel like you still out there, Madeline. If you not, rest in peace to you. If you not, rest in peace. But I'm saying I feel like Madeline is still out there, y'all. And Madeline, if you out there, man, you see this video, Mike from that chapter video, whatever, man, please one day come back home. I don't know why I'm saying that, my brothers and sisters, but I know y'all feel that way too about that case. But for the other ones, man, it's almost like you can pretty much just sadly but truly know that they all deceased. But I digress. Let me shut up, man. We have been here long enough, y'all. I don't even know if y'all just heard that, but it's some major thunder going on outside right now. But like I said, man, we've been here long enough. I appreciate y'all coming on back as always. And before y'all leave, just please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that if you ain't did that yet. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. I don't know where we going, but like I like to say, we are going. And until then, my friends, also remember this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.